Somewhere along the line, I gotta believe the folks making Baywatch Nights thought they'd lost their way. Perhaps turning the spin-off of your lifeguard show into the X-Files was not the wisest creative decision. And thus, Last Breath takes a turn back to their roots by removing the monster stuff and just doing a batshit plot about some guy who kidnaps lifeguards. I can only assume they took a look at the episode in Season 1 where Caroline is turned into a human collector's item and were inspired to take another stab at it, much like The Simpsons would in 1999. And David Hasselhoff did that interview shitting all over the show and saying he was basically trapped in a prison of his own making during the filming of that episode, so I imagine he was incredibly pleased to see this script. The plot similarities aren't the only thing connected to the curator. We also have the next and last appearances of Chris Fiore and Newman on Nights.
So when do we get to practice mouth-to-mouth resuscitation?
Additionally appearing in this episode is James Wlcek, who co-starred with Yasmine Bleeth in the soap opera Ryan's Hope. Coincidence? I think not. Not appearing in this episode, Yasmine Bleeth. It seems everyone wanted in and out of this mess, because we have a few more people coming back and turning right around through that revolving door. The first is Henry Brown as Detective Byron Brown, whom we last saw in Season 1. Everyone was wondering what happened to that guy. Behind the scenes, this is the second and last time Gregory Bonan decided to direct on Nights. In case you're curious, Bonan directed 2 episodes of Nights and 57 of the original show. Then we have the return of Anthony Guidera, winner of the 1996 MTV Movie Awards Best Kiss as presented by the band Kiss. We last saw him as the French photographer who romanced the homely CJ Parker in the episode where Mitch kickboxed his paralysis away. After winning that prestigious award, this episode of Baywatch Nights was the only project he did in 1996 where his character had a name. And last, but certainly not least, we have the return of our old friend Domino's. Anyway, this is the only episode of Season 2 that's not monsters or aliens or some other dumb shit, so it's Season 1 with more gradients on it. Last Breath. What a great lifeguard day. Best day turned to the worst.
We've retrieved his can, but that's all. That's just not possible. Lifeguards don't just disappear.
Yes, truly impossible for him to have gone into the water and never surfaced. An unlikely situation for someone who works in the ocean. Okay, this is just getting sad now.
You know, lifeguards don't just disappear in the water.
Unless they're chasing a ghost and/or a woman who escaped from an asylum who appears to be a ghost, like Kirby did.
And they don't drown, not like that.
What are you even talking about? What is Ryan talking about?
If it was a shark, there'd be some sort of evidence. What else could have done it?
I don't know. Something.
Okay, that should be Mitch's answer for every question about what's going on for the rest of the show.
Oh, something.
Mitch decides he's gonna go swimming for a think, and Ryan warns him that it's too dangerous right now. His response? It's his water!
It's my water.
I can't believe the guys who wrote this wrote The Conjuring. But then again, The Conjuring was kind of overrated and portrayed a couple of known hoaxers as sexy ghost hunters, which is exactly something Baywatch Nights would do. But at least they had a budget and a good cinematographer, which means it's okay to glorify terrible people.
What are you doing here?
I'm very interested in the disappearance of lifeguards.
You have no idea how hard it is to decide what lines to acknowledge in one of these reviews when almost every sentence is the dumbest thing you've ever heard. But honestly, this episode blows my mind with just the sheer amount of dumb they've packed in. But anyway, Teague doesn't have any special knowledge here, he's just very interested in the disappearance of lifeguards. Ryan has been going over the records of every possible encounter a lifeguard could have with the public over the last couple years, saying the list is not long. Now, what exactly defines an encounter here? Like, the public seeing a lifeguard in the wild? A conversation? Just an altercation? I feel like by any metric, including what we've seen on Baywatch alone, the list would be very long. Ryan only has 2 examples here: angry surfers and a car accident over a cliff. Now, even if she narrowed her search down to car accidents over cliffs involving lifeguards, I feel like she'd still have a lengthy list. Anyway, for whatever reason, this car accident seems significant to her. A family of 4 went over a cliff, and a lifeguard was only able to save one of them, who happened to be a twin. Here's Teague's nonsense response.
Twins, Romulus and Remus, the founders of ancient Rome. When Romulus was murdered, his spirit avenged his death and protected his twin brother.
I'm sorry, did Teague suddenly become genetically spliced with a frog because he is leaping to conclusions? Let's sum up the sequence of events here, just to highlight how many brain cells we've lost watching it. A lifeguard disappeared while on duty, which other lifeguards have deemed impossible, even though that's an incredibly common way for a lifeguard to die. Ryan hops on to ask Jeeves to inquire about lifeguard encounters over the last couple years, randomly deciding some car crash with no unusual details is significant enough to highlight. Apropos of nothing, Teague decides a twin existing means there's a connection to Romulus and Remus. Therefore, the dead twin is avenging his death and protecting his twin brother from, something, I guess. You might have noticed I already spoiled that this episode has nothing to do with anything supernatural whatsoever, so Teague's theory about ghosts and Romulus and Remus or whatever the fuck has nothing to do with anything. How is this more confusing and ridiculous than other episodes featuring far more outlandish foes? In case you're curious, we are only 6 minutes in.
I'm not talking about ghosts. I'm talking about willpower. The combat soldier who refuses to fall.
Teague, shut up. Just shut up. And why is Ryan suddenly shitting all over ghosts existing? She was the one getting on Mitch's case about not believing in Prospector Fire Axe ghosts. Despite having precisely zero reason to do so, be it actual evidence or even personal motivation, Ryan calls up Mitch and says he should look into this car crash. Mitch talks to Gus, one of the lifeguards who was involved in the rescue. Newman was also involved with this, but the bad guy in this episode doesn't seem too concerned with him, just the other guys. And despite having the power of Newman on their side, they were only able to save one guy. Ryan could have told Mitch all of these details without asking the lifeguard who was currently mourning the loss of a friend to traumatically recount what happened, but at least we got to hear the same story twice. Twice. Twins. ROMLUS and REMUS. Just when you think things couldn't get any stupider, suddenly Donna. And unlike 90% of her episodes in Baywatch Nights, she's actually here for a reason. To get kidnapped and traumatized.
Here, take him to shore for me. He'll be all right.
I'm just gonna sit around in the water and smile creepily at you for no reason.
It's Code Donna. Yep, she's done it again. She jumped off a bridge and couldn't figure out how to swim back to shore.
That's no accident. Somebody's after lifeguards.
Well, she did call in a kid in a riptide, which tends to pull you under and make your body hard to find, but I guess the only logical conclusion is someone is hiding under the water and pulling lifeguards into, I don't know, some sort of underwater cave system or something. Like this. You know what this brings to mind? That's right, Romulus and Remus.
For once, I'm not the most moronic part of the episode.
I don't know, you're still pretty dumb.
That's true.
Luckily for them, Mitch Von Malibu is mildly interested in what's going on. The car is still underwater, so Teague asks Mitch to investigate for, reasons.
You know, Teague, things that go bump in the night.
Actually, I want to talk to you about things that go bump in the night.
Things that go bump in the night.
Yes, the opening credits are still fucking going. This is 16.5 minutes into the show.
I'm Griff. Somehow I heard you calling underwater and inside a trunk.
They found nothing inside the car and come to the conclusion that it probably wasn't a ghost that put Griff into a trunk. Good waste of time. So when the guy isn't snatching lifeguards, is he just diving nearby his family's sunken car perpetually, or... Mitch does what should have been done in the first place and heads over to the house where the living twin resides.
Spider Mitch, Stephanie is a bitch. Oh, we found the culprit.
Okay, but to be fair, Mitch has just broken into the home of someone who, from his point of view, only had the misfortune of losing his family in a car accident.
Take that, you piece of shit! What'd I do?
You come into his house and he attacks you. That's not enough for me to put out an APB.
No, but it is enough to arrest Mitch for breaking and entering. Or you could just let him go back inside with his friends and look through his stuff? Now come on! Arguably, this is the episode where Teague is required the least, and yet here he is doing the most he's ever done. Ryan wonders if this guy planned all of this in the 6 months since the accident, but Teague says his mourning turned into rage.
Look what he's done.
It's all directed at himself.
What are they referring to? The mess? He isn't practicing self-care? It would help if the episode showed us anything to back up any conclusion they come to at any point. This is just a team of idiots harassing someone with survivor's guilt.
Why don't you just blow his brains out?
What?
Why didn't he just kill himself, idiot?
Get a load of this logic from our hero, people. Mitch decides that him having not committed suicide yet means he's grabbing lifeguards so he won't die alone. The only thing they have to go on at this point is that Griff was stuffed into a trunk while diving, which, I mean, it could have just been an accident and fell on him. I mean, he is Griff. And that still doesn't connect the accident to the lifeguards disappearing in any way whatsoever besides Mitch having read the script. Oh, see, he's been tying up their legs and using an underwater ski type thing. That explains how he's been able to magically grab people without surfacing and throw his voice like a ventriloquist and somehow not drown them and also apparently drug them. I'm such an idiot. Now they're just looking through his yearbooks and photo albums? How does this help them do whatever the hell it is they're doing?
Yeah, thanks. He's got Gus.
What?
Donna, fine, but not Gus. Not Gus!
All of this was so that Mitch could figure out that the guy is recreating the accident with lifeguards in place of his family, but he already knew magically that he didn't want to die alone, so all this did was waste time.
I'm guessing he's got to return back to the place that started.
Here.
No. No.
The car.
You knew he was recreating the accident, now come on!
We really appreciate you guys co-signing on our loan.
Your mother and I were thinking that Gary should do the accounting.
You think I'm stupid or something?
You know, Gary's always been good at math. You know that.
He's not better at anything. Why don't you just don't you touch me?
Oh man, tale as old as time. This guy killed his whole family because they said his brother was better at math. You can't really blame him.
Dear, loving, sweet brother. Remember him? He's the one that's better in math, Dad. That's my bro.
Okay, before I piss myself laughing, props for the twin effects. I actually think they were pretty damn good for the time. Shame they were wasted on a math-based car accident on Baywatch nights, but still.
Look, Ma, no hands.
But you are using your hands! You think being underwater will stop me from overacting? The fool. Doesn't he know he's in a lifeguard's domain? What do you know about ROMLUS and REMUS?
Oh, ew, it's Donna. Never mind. You know, I'm beginning to think you don't even want to be rescued. Huh, fair enough.
He's not gonna make it. He didn't make it.
Baywatch Nights is doing the comedy edits for me. Every single sentence until the end is nonsense. It's like getting repeatedly punched in the face. Incredible.
Well, Teague, you were wrong. Wasn't a spirit out there.
Wasn't it? Seems to me it was. Spirit and pain, a tormented soul, releasing the monster inside.
For God's sake, just take the L, Teague.
It's not safe out there.
No, not completely. That's why they call it the ocean.
That's why they... What are you saying? Next time on Baywatch, Donna's recovered from the trauma of this event, and now she's posing for Playboy. But will that hinder her ability to rescue people from a rock slide? Rock on!